Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Clio Exchange Express, a conversation about the past, present, and future. A lively discussion between friends, family, pundits, personalities, and potentates, if necessary, in order to teach and learn something new. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the hour. Let's go to the show already in progress. Well, man, I tell you, this is another wonderful day. Hi there. Welcome on board the Clio Exchange Express. I'm Lou Phillips, one of your host conductors for the day. And as you've heard it before, this is a show that's dedicated to making life stops that will educate, inform, and inspire. And like always, I'm joined by my co-host, George Chandler, on the other side of the pond. How goes it with you, George? And you got any British humor for us today as well?
Yes, indeed. It's good to be here again on the Clio Express. And we've had a change of weather over here in London. It's beginning to get a bit chilly now. So it's time to put on a little light jacket, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And I also,
I've
got a knock-knock joke for you.
Knock-knock?
Yeah. Do you know about knock-knock jokes?
I do. Let me have it, brother.
All right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Gorilla.
Gorilla who?
Gorilla cheese sandwich for me. I'll be right over.
Well, I tell you, if I had a stove handy, I would do that, George. Well, you know, I've got an English or a British joke for you, I think. Let me just run this by you. Here's the question.
All right.
Why is England the wettest country?
I don't know. Why is England the wettest country?
Because the Queen has reigned there for years. Get it?
That's a good one. I like that.
I tell you, don't share it with any of the royalties over there, okay?
No, I won't. Next time I'm in the Queen's presence, I'll be sure not to mention that.
That's right. Listen, why don't we move quickly to bringing on our guests for today? What do you think?
I think that's a good idea, and I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Beautiful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our life stop for today is going to pick up another son of the South. He's another link in the chain that is the story about the four Kents of Italy. Our guest today he's truly a man for all seasons. He's an accomplished photographer, broadcaster, engineer, entrepreneur, banker, and so much more professionally. He grew up in the farm country of Alabama, where a lot of his time was spent working on his grandfather's farm. He's the product of a family whose lineage includes African American, Caucasian, and Cherokee Indian. He credits his paternal and maternal grandfathers for setting the example of being industrious and building wealth for yourself and family. He matriculated through the Chicago school systems and attended the prestigious Ray Vogue School of Arts, where he graduated in 1964. His career in photography and broadcasting was interrupted in 1966 when he received a letter from Uncle Sam, which requested his presence at the local recruiting station for induction into the United States Army. You remember getting one of those, right, George?
Absolutely.
His military assignment took him to Italy, where he eventually made friends with the four Kents. And like the rest of us, he's remained connected to the Brotherhood since that fateful meeting in Vicenza. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest on board the Clio Exchange Express today, all the way from Maui, Mr. Bill Gaddis. Hey, Bill.
Ciao, come stai?
Or should I say Malaha? What is it? Malaho? What is that?
Mahalo.
How's the weather over there, Bill?
It's today it's going to be about 88 degrees and sunny. and good for anything outdoors that you might feel like participating in, like scuba diving, paddling, sailing, playing golf, all the outdoor activities. And the water is so pretty, crystal blue, flowers everywhere. So it's a scene that you can never get tired of.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think George was saying hello to you as well, Bill.
Yes,
Yes,
George.
it's good to. Yes, how you doing, brother?
Good to hear your voice, man. You are the man of the world, because I remember first being introduced to the Four Kents when we were in Camp Italy, which was my first stop after we left the mainland, going on my first assignment.
Yeah, well, Bill, I'm gonna slow that truck down because we want to go back to the farm with you first of all, because that's where the seed of who you become, and we won't give you the love name that we have for you, but let's go back to Alabama, and tell me, when you think about your young years in Alabama, and being around your grandfather and all of that, what is the one memory that always pops to the front of your mind when you think of those days?
Well, first of all, I think about my relationship with my mother. I was born into a family of 10 siblings, and we had 6 boys and 4 girls. And on the farm, my mother was a 4-foot, 11-inch a lady who weighed about 98 pounds.
4'11".
4'11". I could hold my arms out, and she could walk under my arms, almost without bending. And was a tough lady, boy. You didn't talk back, and you didn't question whatever it was that she said. Very devoted to her religion and all that. But her father, my granddaddy Willie Turner, this man taught me almost everything I know, because he could do anything. He could make, he had all of these things on the farm, and you didn't go to the store and buy stuff if you needed something. Most of the time, you could go to his shed and make it. That was a blacksmith where he could bend iron and shape it into knives and forks and things like that. So he taught me how to do that. He taught me how to shoe a horse. He taught me how to plant and rotate crops and build a house. In fact, the last big job I did before I got old enough to leave Alabama was to help build a house that we were in out of cinder block.
Okay.
And so I learned how to do that.
Let me just interrupt you, Bill, and just ask you a little bit about elementary school. What was that like, especially at that time in Alabama? What was school life like?
We went to a school. The name of my school was Talladega County Training School. It was a county school way out in the country, and I was always a pretty good student, but I always talked a lot. So in the first grade, Mrs. Barnett.
You kidding?
Miss Barnett, boy, she was a big one, and she was a stickler for when you go out and play. We had recess, and you come back in, you had to put your head down and rest for 20 minutes. She would come to the door and peep through the peephole, and if somebody was talking, she had this long switch, and she'd walk in there, boy, without saying a word to you, and she'd start whipping us on our backs as we were laying with our head down, pretending we were asleep. So if she didn't hit you that day, you felt the pain because she hit the guy next to you, and you knew that you were talking to him. So if she didn't hit you, she should have, because you had done the same thing he had done. So anyway, that was the beginning of a very family-oriented school education system that I attended. And as I progressed through that school, my sisters who had gone to school before me had built a reputation and had formed some kind of Gaddis relationship with the teachers. So when I came through, I had it planned. The teachers had planned for me to do certain things and to take certain classes because I was pretty smart. I won the mathematical award in the 9th grade as the best in the school, and I was pretty good at playing the piano and the guitar, but we didn't have an instrument. So back then you had to buy your own. So
Right.
I couldn't get in the band because I had no instrument. But lo and behold, later on in life, I love music, and my mother paid for me to have a song that I had written, produced, and put on wax.
Wow.
I wrote sent it to Nashville, Tennessee. I'm looking for something to come back with some R&B rhythm in it, but when it came back to me, it was country.
Country.
I couldn't relate to country, so I put it aside, and that was the extent of it.
That was it. Hey, Bill, let me ask you this: where did you fall in the stepping order for your brothers and sisters? Where were you? Number 3, number 4?
I was number 7.
Number 7.
Okay. I have 3 siblings. Three siblings below me. I have 2 brothers and a sister underneath me. But I was below the middle child. So, but my older brothers had left home almost before I can even remember. My 2 older brothers had left.
Okay. So even, I mean, this little lady was still had a house full of kids that you can recall during your period, right?
Ever since I can remember, we always had a lot of siblings around us, at least 5, until I became the breadwinner. We stayed as we graduated from high school. We would leave and go north so we could get a job. And when the 6th child, my brother Clio, left and went to New Jersey, my older sisters had already gone to New York and Chicago. And when it was my turn to leave, I couldn't feel comfortable leaving because I was the man of the house at that time. And we had to cut wood and keep ourselves warm. Yeah. We didn't have gas-fired furnaces and things like that. So I had to cut down a tree and come in and cut it up and put a log on the fire and make a fire. Wood stove, cook food with. I had a mule, a wagon, and garden. We raised all of our food, but when it was time for me to graduate and leave home, my sister in Chicago said, well, we can't leave. I couldn't leave my 3 siblings, younger siblings, and my mother down there by themselves because they couldn't take care of themselves. Yeah,
I got you. And George, this sounds like the place where this boy decided, or somebody decided it's time to get out of Bama and go to Chicago.
Yes, it sounds like something happened in your life, Bill, to make you leave Alabama. First of all, how old were you when you moved to Chicago?
I was 17. I had gone to school. I had gone to school 2 days in Alabama at Talladega County Training School because it was a grade school from 1st through 12th. And I had finished the 11th grade, went to school, was elected president of the senior class, and 2 days later my sister from Chicago came down one weekend, loaded us up on a trailer behind a 55 Ford, pulled the trailer and everything that we took with us to Chicago. And then
so the whole family, you went on your own?
No, the family did. I moved my mother and my 3 younger siblings from Alabama to Chicago.
Well, that must have been quite exciting going to Chicago. And what did you think of Chicago when you first arrived there?
Yeah, it was a funny thing because I'm looking for, houses in Alabama. You had yards all the way around. They sitting out in the woods somewhere on a farm.
Yes, of course.
So when I get to Chicago and I see these houses with a gangway that's only about 40 inches apart, I could not get used to it, and especially on one of those busy streets in Chicago, which was on Pulaski Road, and here's a stairwell going up from the sidewalk to the 2nd floor. And I'm looking at these stairs and I'm saying, man, if you stumble coming down that step, you will fall all the way out into the street and get run over by a bus. So I couldn't relate to it at first. And on the side of the house, they had all this what they call common brick. And in Alabama, all the houses were face brick all the way around, or either they were wood or something. But a brick house had face brick all the way around it. And I thought this was the ugliest stuff I had ever seen. And then the people will walk right by you and wouldn't say anything, and as opposed to in the South, when you saw someone, you spoke to them.
Right.
So it
right.
was cultural shock.
I know about that.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, and I would imagine that coming out of Alabama, and it's pretty balanced temperature there. I mean, it's not tropical, but it's not the North Pole either, whereas Chicago can feel like the North Pole. How did that affect you guys?
Man, that was a shock, boy. Let me tell you, the first year when we were in Chicago, first of all, I had to walk a mile to school. And as opposed to when I was in Alabama, I had been driving a school bus. Mm-hmm. I had 2 loads of children. I had to pick up one short run, and then I had a longer run, take them all to school, and then take them all home, two runs in the evening to take them home. But when I got to Chicago, we were on our own, and I was just as far from my school in Chicago as I was in Alabama, where we had taken school by the bus. Mm-hmm. Well, in Chicago, the first year I was there, I remember, I'll never forget it, because the temperature dropped 4 days in a row to 10 degrees below zero.
Wow.
And we had to walk a mile to get to school. So I can't tell you how that trip was. It was
wow.
So it was cold, and you had everything you could think of on, and then you treading through ice. So it was a tremendous shock. But once we got to the school, it was the first school I'd ever gone to that was fully integrated. As a matter of fact, in my class, 1960 graduates were elected the first black president of Farragut High School. And we were only like 10% of the blacks were only 10% of the population of the school.
How about that?
We started a change, and I had gotten a scholarship in Alabama to Tuskegee Institute, and I was going to study architecture. But when I got to Chicago, they said, "Well, you can't take any math. You've had too much math, and you haven't had these required courses in music and art." So I was forced to, instead of them putting me in an accelerated math class, which they did have in Chicago, they just didn't think people of my kind belonged in those accelerated math classes. And so they put me in art and music, and I like art too, so I kind of got hooked on that, and I could sing a little bit in the choir. I got in that, and so I was, perplexed at that time, and didn't know which way to go.
How did you acquire this love that you developed for photography?
Well, I tell you what, when I got out of school, and I always wanted to go to a college, so I got into the art institute called, it wasn't the Art Institute of Chicago, but it was an art school in Chicago called Vogue Light Studios. But now when I first went there, they also taught classes in interior design. That was my first choice. But the counselor kind of talked me out of that. Didn't kind of, but she did. In fact, she didn't think blacks belonged in that. So she encouraged me instead to go to photography. So I went into photography, and I had my little French beret cap and my little pipe in my mouth, and I thought I was it.
Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, told everybody to call you Pierre.
As a matter of fact, that was just kind of like George was the last time we saw him. Except he had a pipe in my mouth. Right. And so I immersed myself into that, and I got to love it. So, and when I did that, I bought all my own developing equipment, installed it in my house so I could go out and take pictures, all kinds of pictures, process them in my house, and almost do anything I wanted to with photography. And then one day I got hired.
Were you able to make money from it?
Yeah, I got into, that's when I got into Art Institute, but I never made money on my own because I was always in the class and working. Having had all those siblings in Alabama, you learn how to cut hair. So I was a good barber.
Yes, and, I can vouch for that.
Yeah, I used to cut hair for the Army when people said they didn't have enough money to get their haircuts.
I guess I missed that part.
Yeah. I did.
That was one of the good things about, we'll talk about that later, but one of the good things about seeing Bill after he got out of the Army was we knew we could get a good haircut from him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
anyway,
that's wonderful.
Yes.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
can feel a change coming, though.
Yeah, go ahead,
I
Bill.
feel a life change coming.
Yeah, well, when you're on a farm, you kind of forced to do a whole lot of things. You don't expect to go out and buy anything. You're taught that if you need something, you need to either go out and grow it, find it, or make it. And so you kind of go up with that mentality, and once you start doing that, it becomes a part of your lifestyle. So my siblings need a haircut, so I took it upon myself to cut their hair. And being pretty good in art, I think a good barber or hairstylist needs to have some kind of artistic talent, because what you're trying to do is create something that you haven't seen yet. And it's like painting a picture. And I could look at somebody's face and tell what kind of hairstyle or haircut would look better on that person. A lot of times you see people with some haircuts, and I'm saying, man, that's terrible. They should do this. They should cut it this way because it makes them look better.
Yeah.
So you kind
Bill.
of do things like that.
Yeah, Bill, let me advance it just a little bit and have you speak to the opportunity that really validated your photography skills in Chicago was wrapped around the fact that your employer wanted to sponsor you in business, right?
Yes, that was the highlight of I guess it was the highlight of my photo indulgence. I was working for Vogue Light Studios, and Vogue Light Studios did the photography for most of your catalogs, those large catalogs like Sears, Montgomery Ward, Spiegel's, and so on. We did all the photography, and I was working there with Jim Dutko, who was my supervisor or manager, and he taught me the commercial aspect of photography. Mm-hmm. Jim Dutko and I used to go down and stand on the corner in Chicago on State and Madison Street, and looking for black models who had just begun to get exposed in the catalogs. But there were no agencies that had black models. So the owner of my company, Vogue Light Studios, took me to lunch one day and asked me if I would be interested in letting them help me start up the first black model agency in Chicago. And I thought that was just the greatest thing in the world. So naturally I said yes. And but what led up to that was Jim Dutko and I would stand on that corner sometime all day watching people pass by, and then when we saw a black that fit the description of what we wanted, I would approach them and say, I'd like to know if you'd be interested in doing some of my modeling for us. And the first thing they would say is, I suppose you want us to do it in the nude, right? And I said, as a matter of fact, I don't. Then Jim Dutko, the white guy, would be standing against the building there. And I said, well, I want you to come over and meet my partner. And that would authenticate me as a legitimate photographer. And they'd say, okay,
right.
Yeah. Okay. And then we would get them in the studio and shoot them. But that wasted a lot of time. That's why the owner wanted to help me open up the first black model agency.
That's beautiful, man.
After I got that offer, I got drafted into the United States Army.
Don't go away. We'll be right back after this stop on the Underground Railroad.
What? Clio Exchange Express and the Underground Railroad tour is leaving the station.
Next stop, Tabor, Iowa, and the Tabor Anti-Slavery Historical District. The town of Tabor in southwestern Iowa played a significant role in the 1850s as a center for the Western anti-slavery movement. Tabor found itself in a strategic position to impact the future of slavery in the West. The town was officially established in 1858, but was first settled in 1852 by George Gaston, a Congregationalist missionary, and Reverend John Todd, a graduate of Oberlin Theological Seminary in Ohio. Reverend Gaston donated land, which became the central location where anti-slavery residents came to air their opposition to the flagrant sin of slavery. Reverend Todd provided his home as a significant hub on the Underground Railroad in western Iowa. He often preached of the paradox of slavery in a free society. The Tabor Anti-Slavery Historic District is located in the center of Tabor, Iowa, and is now named Tabor City Park. The Todd House is located in the historic district and is open to the public by appointment. This is Lou Phillips. Join us again next time on the Underground Railroad tour of the Clio Exchange Express.
Oh, goodness. How did you feel about that?
Can you imagine how disappointed that must have been? That was the worst day of my life when I got that letter. So I said, well, I don't live in Chicago anymore. I live in New York, where my brother Cleve lives. They said, well, okay. So sure enough, I knew they were going to do this, but I took my car and drove to New Jersey. 30 days later, I got drafted out of New Jersey. And I was here and I had no other, I couldn't get out of it then, so I said, okay.
Yeah.
And,
where did you take basic?
I took basic in Fort Dix. Luckily, I did go to move to New Jersey per trying to get out of the Army, but it enabled me to go to basic training at Fort Dix.
Speaking of Fort Dix, what's the name of the big mess hall? Do you remember the name of the big mess hall?
No, I don't. All I remember is that
I don't remember the name of it, but it had a very hilarious name. I can't think of it. I've been trying to think of it for years.
Like mess hall?
Yeah, it had. We had a name for it.
Yeah,
right.
I can't remember.
That's what I was saying.
I was too busy I had a girlfriend by that time living in New Jersey, and my platoon sergeant, his girlfriend lives in New Jersey as well. So on the weekends, they would come up. So I kind of had plus I was 24 and a half, by the way. That made a real big difference in how I was treated in the Army versus those new recruits that were 18 years old. So when they drafted me, having left the farm, I could shoot better than they could. I could shoot the rifles, and I could put 3 bullets in one hole. So I became an expert at everything I did. I could march, I could do all that stuff because, being a farmer, you just do it. My platoon sergeant's girlfriend and my girlfriend would come up together sometime, and then so I obviously would get a pass so we could hang out together because the girlfriends were friends, and so therefore the platoon sergeant and I had to be kind of friends too. So that got me a lot of benefits, and plus I cut hair. When someone needed a haircut and they didn't have any money, and the platoon sergeant wanted his platoon to look good, he called me over and said, "Give him a haircut, Bill." They said they want to cut the hair, so I cut the hair. And I did that kind of all the way through the Army, and therefore I was afforded some privileges.
Yeah. How did you react when you got your assignment to Italy?
Well, they asked me there was some form when I came out of AIT, which is where they send you for your professional military training. They sent me to Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And so I became an electrical engineer there. And working in the Signal Battalion. But to do that, you had to be able to do mechanical repairs. You had to fix the generators, which had a motor on them, so you had to be a mechanic in order to hook that motor and generate that power from your generator behind you to produce electricity. So I learned all that, and then they said, "Where do you want to go when you get dispatched for your first assignment?" I said, "Puerto Rico first, Japan second, and Italy third." So I got my third choice.
Beautiful.
So I was the only when they did that assignment. The first thing I said I was going to do, since they had taken me out of my photography world, which I was still mad about that, I said, well, wherever they send me, I'm going to get as much as I can for myself out of the military. So I bought me a little dictionary, a translation dictionary, to try to learn how to speak Italian. And so when I got over there, I was trying, but I never was very good at it, but I tried. Then they had a university over there. Maryland University had a branch over there, so I took some classes in Italian when I got over there. And when I got there, I immersed myself into that environment. I wanted to get a job, and I knew I was qualified as the Stars and Stripes photographer. The Stars and Stripes, as you might know, is the European-based newspaper for all of the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Stars and Stripes. So I said, well, I want to be the photographer for Stars and Stripes. The battalion commander, when I applied for it, he said, well, you can't have that job. Just like that. And I said, no. I said, that ain't going to work. That's not going to work for me. So I took...
Hey, Bill, are you playing God Save the Queen?
Actually, that was Andrea Bocelli. My ringtone for my phone.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so I said, well, that's not going to work for me. I know I'm as good as or better than whoever they have as a photographer for the Stars and Stripes. I know I qualify because I had already done some news reporting in Chicago as well. So they wouldn't give it to me. So I wrote my senator, Everett Dirksen at the time. And surprising to me, he sent me a letter back right immediately saying, resubmit your application and I will take care of it on this end. I'll never forget that. And then I took that letter up to the battalion commander, showed it to him. After they stopped shaking in their shoes, they said, what do you want? What? You can't have that job. It's already been filled. But what, anything else you want, you can have.
My goodness. Was that during the time? Was that during the time, George, that he met you guys?
Right.
Well, go ahead, George. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, right around then is when I had been taking pictures of various people on the base. I always had my camera. I had my press camera with me, and I could do all kinds of film. And they had a lab on the base where you could develop your own pictures, so I was using that. Mm-hmm. And I met a guy by the name of Dixon, and there was another guy, Melvin. Melvin, I forget his last name, but he had a black Volvo automobile on base, and I became friends.
Okay.
And he said, man, there's this group. It's a bad group here. In fact, that time they were going to Milano. They were singing in Milano. So he asked me to go with him. So I got in the car. We drove up to Milan and saw the Four Kids for the first time. That's first time I'd ever seen them. And I said, man, that group is bad. They reminded me of the Four Tops, the Temptations, and Bob Marley. I thought, oh, this is some good stuff. So wherever they went, wherever they were performing thereafter, I was always trying to make it my business to go there. And then I eventually met. I really don't remember who I met first. I guess it was at probably at the BX or at the mess hall. Not the mess hall, but that little restaurant that was near the BX, and I forget the name of it. But I met, I believe, I don't know who I met first. It might have been Rudy. And I think I did some photography for Rudy, I believe it was. And I took a picture of it, and he liked that, and he told me he was singing. And when I think Melvin introduced me to somebody. That's probably how it happened. Melvin, a friend of mine, introduced me to them. And then whoever I hooked up with first, I know I liked George. George was so sharp. I thought George was the coolest guy on the base that time, because George was very slim, and he was handsome, and he had all these girls. I mean, George could sing his ass off. I mean, his behind off.
Which George are you talking about?
I'm talking about George.
Me.
I thought that man could sing better than the Four Tops, man, better than the Temptations. And then Charlie Boone could blast. He sang that song, Blue. Oh, blue, my dearest heart. And I forget how it goes now, but boy, you talking about powerful voices.
Yeah.
I said, man, this is the bomb. And all I wanted to do then was just be around them. I became a groupie, and somehow, after following them everywhere, even when I discharged, I would just come back and I would just get on the plane sometime when I came back, and let me diverse from that because that's a bit later. But during my time in Italy, I would just follow them everywhere because I enjoyed the music and got to know them pretty good. Found out they were some very nice people that I enjoyed hanging with, so I hung with them whenever I could.
Yeah, well, that's a good place to transition because after the Army, that whole relationship continued on, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. As a matter of fact, before I left the military, the four Kents had gotten out, and they had relationships and stuff with women over there. George had his lady that he eventually married. Well, before then, he had other, partying. I would go down and visit with them.
Okay.
And they would host me. They would host me sometime, and I would stay with them when I would fly over. And so I had a strong bond with them after that. After the first acquaintances, when they got out, they kind of started traveling, and I started following them. I had bought a car. I had a little Triumph Herald, and I used to loan a lot of money to everybody on base when they were broke. And so I knew practically everybody on base because at one point in time they probably owed me money. So I bought a little Triumph Herald, and then I became very mobile. So wherever they were, I could always get there then. And then I always had some friends that I'd take with me. Mm-hmm. And then the Four Kents just got more popular. Then they got this record contract with RCA. And by that time, I said, well, this group needs somebody that can write articles and take pictures and put them in the magazines. And I said, well, I don't know how to write. So what I decided to do was I said, I'm going to go home and take about a year and learn how to write so I can come back over here and promote these guys the way I think they need to be promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So enough, I got out of the Army. I came back and studied journalism. And I was already a photographer, so I wanted to be a photojournalist at that time. So when I got back, I kept doing that time when I was in school and working for TWA. I would fly back over to Europe to visit with them whenever I could. And I'd just show up. I never would tell them when I was coming. I knew they worked for RCA Record Company, so I would just call RCA out of Rome, and I forget the guy's name, their manager. I would call and ask for him, and then his office would tell me where the kids were singing.
Crochet.
And the next thing, I'd just walk in their room because they didn't know I was coming. I never did tell them. I'd just show up. I was like the bad penny. It never went away.
Well, I think you were a welcome penny and was shining at all encounters, right, George?
Absolutely. Whenever he came back to Italy to see us, it was as if he had just stepped out the room.
Yeah,
I mean, we could almost just pick up whatever conversation we were having when he knocked on the hotel door. We could just continue having the conversation.
Yeah, what would you guys say when you saw him coming?
Oh, we just threw our arms around him and just welcome. Come on in.
Come on in, Leroy.
And the first word they said, Leroy.
Right.
Hey, George, I think you gave me that name, didn't you?
Well, we got it from Joe Tex. Remember that he had that record, Skinny Legs and All.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Who's going to take the skinny legs and all? And he'd say, hey, Leroy, do you want to take this skinny lady? And that's where we got it from.
I remember one time in particular, the Four Kents were down in a little town called Ischia. And I flew came by way of London, and I'd fly down to Rome, Fiumicino Airport, and I rent a car. And this particular time, I rented a car, and I was always speeding. I loved the Autobahn. It had no speed limits on, so you could drive as fast as you wanted to go. So I would always try to do 100 and whatever that car would do. So I got in this car and drove it out. About 10 miles out, the car broke down. They come back, they give me another car. It broke down. That particular night, I had to spend the night, and the only person I think was at home was George's wife, Barbara. So I had no other places. I called Barbara. I went over there anyway. I spent the night at George's house, And then I got a plane, so I said, well, I'm not going to rent another car. So I flew down to Naples. And then I got this, to get from Naples to Ischia was a little hydroplane boat. So I got down there, walked in, took the boat over and walked into their room. It must have been around 2 o'clock, and they were all still kind of laying around, because they usually perform at night. In the daytime, they just kind of hang around. I walked into the door. The main water line had been disconnected from Naples to Ischia. So they had water in a 5-gallon jug. So they had to flush it and all that stuff. So I walked in the room that day. But to tell you another story before I get to this part, I had a hard time trying to get there because I had to go to the bathroom. I'd been drinking beers and stuff. And people, as I was walking from the pier to George's hotel, they didn't want to let me use the bathroom. So anyway, I just said, man, I got to go to the bathroom anyway. They let me use it. Then I walked into George's place and they said, Leroy! That's the way we did it.
Yeah. Hey, I guess your ongoing connection with the group reoccurred when Rudy moved to Chicago, right?
Yes. Eventually, I went back to Chicago to learn how to do journalism, so I could come back over there. But before I could finish that job, the group kind of dissipated, and George went back moved to London, and then I took the liberty of moving back. I came back to Chicago and stayed and started working in radio and TV. And eventually, Rudy came home, and when he did that, he moved back to Chicago. He moved to Chicago to visit with me. So he stayed with me for about 6 months or a year. And so I got him some jobs. Got him hooked up, and he started working as a distributor for one of the record companies. He enjoyed that eventually, and then he eventually that company dissipated in some way, and he eventually lost that job and started working for the post office. Mm-hmm. And so he lived with me. But before that, when I was in Europe, I used to go and stay with him a lot. When I would land there unannounced, I usually would drop my bags with Rudy. Every now and then, I'd stay with Stan. And but Boone was always married, and he had a family, so I never stayed with him. Mm-hmm. And George lived across town, kind of the opposite of all the other guys, so I never really stayed with George because he's on the other side of town in the rich neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
Well, listen, when I came to the States, Bill, in 1974, you were working at a bank. Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, I was a journalist when I left Michigan State University. I was producer, director of radio and TV over there. But I wanted to get back into the media in Chicago, which is the big market where you got the big paychecks. But Nixon was in office at the time, and he started. His presidency is when women were named minorities. And I said, well, if women are going to be minorities, me with a southern drawl, I'm never going to get a shot at it. By the time I get a shot at it, I'll probably be too old to appreciate it. So I said, well, I'm just going to leave the media because they started hiring all the women. Most of the places would hire women instead of males. So I decided I was going to leave, and I went back to Chicago, and I became a banker. And so I said, if I'm going to be a banker, I got to go back and get my degree in finance. So I did that. And I became senior vice president of a bank. I was there until I retired in 1992, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And after that, I became president. I set up a company, an economic development company, that would fund the local businesses in the area of Oak Park where I was living at the time, outside Chicago. And I did that in order to try to help black businesses get loans, and I had to provide some assistance to them. I learned a lot when I was in banking, how to finance businesses and how to run businesses and things like that. So that gave me a whole new look on life, because I thought, the reason why we couldn't, as a black person, get ahead was because we couldn't get an opportunity in business. But when I got there, I found out there was just no feeder agencies that would send you people that were qualified to do the work. So I decided I was going to train people to take my job out there, because I didn't want to be a senior vice president of operations of a bank, because it was a very tasking job. You can burn out in that thing pretty quick, because I introduced all the computers to the bank, and the work was very intense. I was good at it, but I didn't want to do it the rest of my life, because every time we did a conversion, I'd end up in the hospital for a couple of weeks, stressed completely out. Had 3 major conversions. And I said, well, next thing I want to do in banking is be president. Either that or I don't want to do it anymore. So,
did the people there, Bill, that you were trying to help fully appreciate what you were all about?
At first they were angry because I had this one girl, Linda Davis. Unfortunately, she passed now. She wanted to be ghetto. I said, but she was very smart, and I could see it in her. I said, I'm gonna make something out of you, whether you like it or not. I said, but you're gonna do this job, and you're gonna do it right, and you're gonna do it professionally, because I can't have losers on my team, because I'm running the bank at that time. All the computer operations, everything that they did other than making loans came through me. And I have to have a system in the bank that makes people like it. Like using my system. If I buy a system for the bank and they don't know how to use it, they're going to say, this is the lousy system. So I had to get a very simple system that everybody would like, and then train them how to use it. And that was the responsibility of me and my staff. And but eventually this girl decided that I was too hard on her, so she decided she's going to leave and go to another bank. She left, and she... about 6 months after she left, she begged me to come back. And about a year later, I let her come back and gave her another job that was equally as important as the one she left. And to this day, until she died, rather, that girl and a couple of other people on my staff would always call me and follow me wherever I went, and call me like I was their daddy, because I used to treat them like they were my kids. I said, when I leave here, when I bring you into this bank, I want you to be able to do the job that I do, and I want you to do it well. And say, that's your next promotion, will be to take my job. And I said, and I did that because when I first went back to Chicago, I tried to get a job with Quaker Oats. And I remember how that black guy that I met to do my interview with me made me feel when I left his office. I felt like that was the worst person I'd ever met in business. All this guy did was try. He saw I had a degree and he didn't. He wanted to make sure I did not get hired because he was fearful that I would probably take his job.
Yeah,
I said, I don't ever see a black person leave my office feeling about me the way I felt about him.
Right.
And that's kind of changed the way I did it.
Yeah, and I suspect during this period is when you met your queen, right?
Yeah, well, I met my queen when I was at Michigan State University.
Okay.
That's when I had the radio and television program over there. And I was working for Transworld Airlines. And one day, my buddy in Chicago, who also had come up from Alabama, his name was Fred Lawson, he and I were best of friends, he had this girlfriend, beautiful girl. And we used to hang out together. And this girl said, I'm going to find you a good girl, because we thought the girls that I had wasn't too good. So I said, well, go for it. So one day, about 2 o'clock lunch hour, I guess it was, I was called to come and meet this girlfriend that she had, that she wanted me to meet, downtown on State Street and Adams Street. And I was working at TWA, State Street in Monroe, which is about 2 blocks away. So I went here and met this little girl. I got down on her. She was standing outside the Everett Dirksen building where she worked at. And I walked in there. They were sitting outside on the railing, leaning against the railing outside the building. And I saw this little girl there. I said, man, this is not bad. So I met her, and I hit on her. And she kind of like, she was in the slow lane, I thought. So I didn't.
That's what
So
you
I
thought.
moved, well, I hit on her, made a few immediate suggestions, and she kind of killed them. And I said, okay, well, when you change your mind, give me a call. So we dated for about 2 or 3 times, and then I saw I was not going to get anywhere. And so I said, well, when you change your mind, give me a call. 1 year later, I was at Michigan State University, and I came back I was on radio and TV at Michigan State, and I came back to Chicago where my buddy was working at WVON radio. And I went over there, and he was in the newsroom, getting ready to do the news. And somehow I got on the air, and Lynn heard the show.
Uh-oh.
And then I got a call. Heard Kent said, "There's a phone call for you, Bill." I said, "Gee, well, no, I'm here." And it was, and she had changed her mind.
I tell you, hey Bill, and the rest is history, right? Hey George, as we begin to wind down, do you have another question for Bill?
Yes, I'm wondering, after all is said and done, when you look back on your life, what can you say? Are you happy with the way things turned out?
Well, you know, I think the highlights of my life, George, was meeting the time that I spent with you all in Europe and the times that I've spent with you all since we all left Europe. That friendship, to me, is the greatest thing that I have. I went to school in Chicago, but I didn't really participate with the students because I was only there a year, and I worked and went to school full-time both. So I didn't have time to make friends in my last years of high school in Chicago. The 11 years that I spent in Alabama in school, I still know some of those people, but they are not friends because you don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
The best friends and the longest friends that I have to this day are the 4 Kents and the people I met in the military. So those were some of the best years of mine. And meeting my wife, if I had to do that all over again, I'd do the exact same thing. I waited until I was 31 years old to get married, and now, you know, I've never regretted any of it. If there was one thing that I would change, it would probably be to try and get my ability to write stories so that the 4 Kids could have stayed together and became a superstar group that I think they really could have done.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful, man. And I think that's a perfect way to really summarize your life in a quick statement. And I really was getting concerned that you'd bend over and say thank you to the Queen, but you covered that too, brother.
Well, you know, the one thing I didn't do, Lou, and I think I should, I really was remiss in omitting this. The reason we are hooked back up together is because one day, in an attempt to make a reservation for a flight, I heard this boy came on the phone and said, introduced themselves as Lou Phillips, and I said, Lou Phillips? Were you in the Army? He said, yes. I said, were you at Camp Italy? He said, yes. I said, man, you know the 4 Kids? He said, yes. And then we have been friends ever since. That must have been, how many years ago, Lou? 30 years?
Oh, a lot of years,
That's
man.
fantastic.
A lot of years. And
I've got a I guess we call it a final question I'd like to ask you, Bill. The 3 most influential blacks in your lifetime. Not in any particular order. Just give me 3 of them that I'm not talking about that was influential to everybody. I'm talking about who encouraged you, who meant something to you.
A personal one. Okay. I would simply say that was a guy at Michigan State University. His name was Maxie Jackson. And Maxie Jackson taught me how to survive in the business world. He taught me how to write memorandums and who to address them to when you wanted to manipulate change. And I think I've got more benefits out of that teaching than anything in life because I had no idea what writing memorandums and copying them to the right people meant. So until he explained it to me, and then I executed when I was at the bank. That's why I became senior vice president of the bank as quickly as I did. Had not I known Dr. Jackson, I never would have been able to do that.
Make it short,
and,
Bill.
That's the number one. Number two, I guess, would be Lou Phillips and the Fort Kents. We've done more together. I guess that has meant a lot to me. And I've enjoyed and got more benefits out of that than probably anything else I know of.
That's beautiful.
And of course, I lived during the era of Dr. King, and his work helped me a lot. It soothed my soul a lot because I believe in what he was doing. I think a lot more needs to be done, and since his loss, we don't seem to have anybody taking his place.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. And well, Bill, I just want to thank you for joining us on the Clio Exchange Express. It's certainly been a wonderful ride. I've enjoyed it. How about you, George?
It's been a wonderful ride, just like I knew it would be.
Yeah. It's been a great life stop, and you really helped us to learn more about you, and I'm sure a listening audience have enjoyed it as well. And I want to just let our listening audience know how much we appreciate you tuning in, and we encourage you to send us a little note with regards to what you've heard so far. And as always, we look forward to seeing you again the next time we launch on the Clio Exchange Express. Now, George, I do have one other question for you, brother.
Okay, I'm
And in fact, now that we got Bill on the line, we'll include him in it too. What has one head, 1 foot, and 4 legs?
One head, 1 foot. I have no idea.
A bed.
A bed.
Oh.
Okay, the conductor is telling us it's time to move on. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Let us know by sending an email to info@clioexchange-express.com. That's info@clioexchange-express.com. Until next time, we wish you peace of mind, love from the heart, and happiness you cannot explain.